In a quiet town in North Carolina, a seemingly ordinary day at a local grocery store took an unexpected turn when a woman was caught stealing food. But what happened next, after the police saw her children, was nothing short of surprising. Theresa West, a 44-year-old mother, was devoted to her children and determined to provide for her family, no matter the challenges. Life took a harsh turn after a devastating incident that changed everything for her. Struggling to make ends meet, Theresa found herself working tirelessly just to find ways to support her children. But Theresa's love and compassion extended beyond her immediate family. She took on the responsibility of caring for two other girls who needed a safe place to stay, even though they weren't her own. With a big heart, she welcomed these girls into her home, offering them a safe and loving environment. To support and feed her extended family, Theresa frequently visited her local store. However, on one particular day, as she discreetly filled her basket, she couldn't shake off her nervousness. Every week was a struggle for Theresa to find enough money for food, but she knew her children were hungry, and she couldn't come home empty-handed. In a difficult decision, Theresa resorted to stealing. The store manager sensed something was wrong as he observed her navigating the aisles. He wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, so he decided to keep a watchful eye on her. To his surprise, the woman suddenly picked up her pace, heading straight for the store's exit without stopping at the checkout counter. The manager's eyes widened as he realized that theft was taking place right before him. Knowing it was best not to confront the potential shoplifter directly, he carefully jotted down her license plate number and the details of her worn-out car as she hastily drove away. With the incident recorded on the store's security footage, the manager promptly contacted the local police. Senior Officer Corporal Keith Bradshaw and Officer First Class Candace Springs swiftly arrived at the scene to assess the theft. Theresa West had managed to escape with various grocery items, including bread, pasta, sauce, and salads, totaling approximately $34. Armed with the license plate information, the officers set out to locate Theresa. She happened to live not far from the store. A short drive later, the officers arrived at her residence, ready to confront her about the crime. As the door slowly creaked open, the officers were taken aback by what they saw. Instead of a suspicious-looking thief, they were greeted by a woman who seemed frightened, exhausted, and physically weak. Theresa, as she introduced herself, smiled weakly. The officers immediately questioned her about the incident at the store. With a heavy heart, Theresa admitted her guilt and expressed deep remorse for her actions. The officers dug deeper, trying to understand the reasons behind Theresa's desperate act. As she lowered her head out of shame, Theresa began to explain her circumstances. She kind of hung her head and told us what was going on and why, and that she was sorry. Bradshaw later recounted in an interview. Theresa had been the sole provider for her family until a car accident left her with brain damage, making it impossible for her to work. On top of that, rheumatoid arthritis caused her immense pain, preventing her from performing her previous physically demanding job. Since she could not work in her condition, Theresa had no means to support her children. She turned to desperate measures because her children hadn't eaten in 3 days, and they were starving. Corporal Bradshaw and Officer Springs exchanged glances, their eyes reflecting a profound sadness. They recognized the honesty in Theresa's words, understanding that she had resorted to theft out of sheer desperation to take care of her 2 children and the 2 additional girls she had taken under her wing. The officers couldn't help but notice the emptiness of the kitchen, where bare shelves and a lack of food were stark reminders of the desperation that had led to the shoplifting. Theresa's honesty and the goodness of her heart touched them deeply, but while they empathized with her plight, their hands were tied by the law, and they had no choice but to arrest her. If it wasn't for the store's policy and the manager's insistence, the officers surely would have let Theresa go, but in this case, it wasn't up to them. However, their encounter with Theresa had left a profound impact on them. They recognized the desperation and love that had driven her to such extreme measures. Theresa was booked in and charged for her mistakes, and a court hearing was set. Anticipation and anxiety filled the air as the court date approached. Theresa had thought long and hard about her mistakes and what she could do to change her life after this. Finally, the court date came, and she entered with the hope that the judge would hear her side of the story and show her mercy. The officers had long awaited this day too, where they could finally share their perspectives in the serious setting of the courtroom. The officers stepped forward, ready to speak up for the woman who had resorted to theft to support her family. As they spoke, their voices resonated with sincerity and compassion, painting a vivid picture of the woman's circumstances and her good intentions. The judge, keen and compassionate, attentively listened to the officers' depiction of the woman's hardships. They portrayed her as a devoted mother, overwhelmed by the weight of her responsibilities and forced to take extreme measures out of pure love for her children. Through their testimony, the officers brought forth the woman's humanity. In light of the exceptional circumstances and the woman's inherent goodness, the judge made an extraordinary ruling. With a compassionate look, the judge dismissed all charges against her, recognizing her as a flawed but caring mother who had acted out of love and necessity. As the woman's face lit up with tears of relief, a heavy burden lifted off her shoulders. Gratitude overwhelmed her as she realized that there were people who saw beyond her mistake and understood her true character. But the officers' compassion didn't stop there. Deep in their hearts, Bradshaw and Springs felt compelled to do something more. They couldn't bear the thought of Theresa's children going hungry any longer. They knew they had to step up and make a difference. They decided to go even further to help. They saw the suffering of her children and came up with a surprising plan. Afterward, they went to a nearby Walmart determined and focused. They moved through the aisles, selecting essential items and filling up a shopping cart with groceries. After spending nearly $400 of their own money, the officers returned to the woman's home, filled with excitement. Their eyes sparkled as they approached the door, knowing that their act of kindness would bring renewed hope and relief. As the woman opened the door, she was amazed by what she saw. Her emotions surged, and she felt overwhelmed with gratitude and disbelief. The officers handed her the overflowing cart of groceries, showing their support and care. In that special moment, tears of joy streamed down the woman's face. She was immensely grateful. It was a reminder that even in tough times, there are people who choose empathy and kindness. But Bradshaw and Springs knew their assistance couldn't stop with just groceries. They recognized that long-term support was essential for Theresa and her family to truly rebuild their lives. So they guided her towards social services, encouraging her to seek further assistance and resources. This would help ensure that she could continue to care for her family and work towards a more stable future. As the officers left Theresa's home, a deep sense of fulfillment washed over them. They had witnessed firsthand the profound impact that compassion and kindness can have. In a world often filled with judgment and indifference, they chose to respond with empathy. This story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of empathy and the lasting impact of simple acts of kindness. It inspires hope in our hearts and motivates us to become agents of change, reaching out to those who need it most. What a truly inspiring story. What are your thoughts on the judge's decision? I'm really keen to know your thoughts, so please don't hesitate to share your insights in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and found it engaging, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more similar content. Feel free to share this video. Take good care of yourselves, and I'm excited to connect with you in our future videos.